This week had 6 touchdowns, no picks for a zillion yards against Baylor. It's the same offense. Lincoln Riley, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. By the way, Lincoln Riley used to coach. I forget where he coached before this, and his last 2 quarterbacks put up absurd numbers. It's nothing against Baker. It's just, you watch other programs when they lose their star quarterback. They're not the same program. Texas was never the same when they lost Colt McCoy. They were never the same. They were never the same program. Baker Mayfield leaves. I'm going to talk to Joel Klatt in an hour about that. I watched Oklahoma this weekend. It's the same team, same plays, same completions. This guy runs around better. By the way, borrow up to $40,000 to pay off your credit card debt. Joy doesn't have any, but if she did, she'd go to lendingclub.com/sports, lendingclub.com/sports. Let me ask you a question, a serious question here. If you're watching me, I want you to think about this for a couple seconds. Joy, I want you to think about this. John and Greg. Is discipline a skill? Is likability a skill? Is it a skill to be likable?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the professional setting, yes.
Is discipline
yes
a skill?
Yes.
Okay, so you say 2 yeses, because I agree with you.
I say yes to discipline. I mean, that's why they have drill sergeants.
There you go. So I think discipline is a skill. I think disciplined people, no to that food, no to that opportunity, no to that flirting. No, that's a skill. It's a mindset. You have to get up early, work out every day. That's a skill. Okay, you're not born with that. It's hard to get up and work out, even if you always get up and work out. I have to talk myself every day into working out. I don't want to get on that treadmill. I really don't, every day. I also think likability is a skill. Sometimes we're all moody. Sometimes we're all in a bad mood. But to walk into a room with other people and be considerate and likable and agreeable, I think is a skill. I think that's hard to do on a lot of days for a lot of us.
I would call that emotional discipline.
Well, yes, exactly. I think you're right. Tom Brady, by the way, is great at both those. Aaron Rodgers is less great at both those. So here's an interesting story. 2 years ago, this is written by Mike Florio, a veteran NFL reporter. 2 years ago, evidence emerged, palpable dysfunction between Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy's relationship, with Rodgers openly questioning the sideline energy, which is something obviously a coach would have a lot to say with. Aaron Rodgers bristled at it, called it crap. Well, on Sunday, Rodgers shared concerns. Get ready for more crap, Mike Florio said. Rodgers shared concerns about an offensive attack that doesn't sufficiently feature Devontae Adams and Jimmy Graham. The quotes point clearly and unmistakably to the game plan, something for which the coach is solely responsible. This time, though, McCarthy opted to engage Aaron Rodgers in his passive aggressiveness. He said, quote, Aaron's given a lot of responsibility, and rightfully so. He's earned that at the line of scrimmage and during the preparation process, firing back at Aaron. So my takeaway is, once again, likability, discipline. It's not really, Aaron's not nearly as good as Tom at this. I was told years ago by an NFL source inside that Green Bay building that Aaron Rodgers was Jay Cutler, but just with a lot more talent. Jay Cutler, condescending and difficult. These have been documented. Aaron Rodgers struggled with Brett Favre. It's been written and reported and acknowledged. Aaron Rodgers has struggled publicly. Dad, brother called him out. Publicly, teammates have called him out. Tom Brady gets along with everybody. Seemingly, Aaron Rodgers gets along long-term with nobody. And yet the media, 11 years of fawning. Do you believe discipline and likability is a skill? I do. Tom Brady walks into that building. He's pissed off some days. He's in a bad mood some days. But he's emotionally disciplined. He's emotionally available. He's not condescending. He has every right to be furious often. 18 years we've seen 1 or 2 actions from Tom, little social media stuff, praising Gronk. We see it from Aaron Rodgers constantly. Years ago, like Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, when they have the introductions and the players tell you where they're from? And a couple of years ago, Aaron Rodgers didn't mention Cal. And a friend of mine told me, yeah, he's struggling now with Cal. And I couldn't verify it, so it may be a bunch of hooey. But it was on. Remember this moment on TV? I doubt many of you remember it.
Aaron Rodgers, Butte Community College.
He wouldn't say Cal. He talked about his junior college. Now, I tried to get it verified through Cal Athletics, so I can't hold that against him. But there's always been a reason why transcendent talents, Dan Marino, Carmelo, and Aaron Rodgers, don't win more. The big one. There's always a reason for it. That reason is not something I'm going to talk about on the air all the time. I don't want to be mean-spirited. I don't want to make it personal. But when stuff comes out and people take shots at people, then I feel like I'm open to talk about people. There's a reason Carmelo Anthony doesn't win more. I'm not going to get into it. There's a reason Dan Marino didn't win more. I'm not going to get into it. But Aaron's stuff becomes documented. It becomes reported. And once again, if you think discipline and emotional discipline and likability are a skill, Aaron's not great at that. He's not. And we see it again. And he and McCarthy battling again. They've been battling for years. They don't advertise it. They've been battling for years. And I think there's a reason. It's not always somebody else's fault. The media's been fawning. I was thinking about this, is that Jerry Jones, there's a new book out by Gary Myers, longtime New York NFL reporter. And there's a quote in there, a lot of Cowboy fans get very frustrated with Jason Garrett, the head coach. And an excerpt, the book is called How About Them Cowboys by Gary Myers. And one of the excerpts, each year Garrett is near the top of the list of coaches on the hot seat. That speculation always followed by Jerry issuing strong words of support. Jones likes him and is averse to starting over with a new coach. You know what this is? Age is a powerful thing. And I've said this before. If Nick Saban was 52, he would leave Alabama. He left LSU at 53. Nick Saban's 66. He don't want to start over again. The other day, I asked somebody close to Pete Carroll. I said, USC may have a new football coach in 6 months. Would Pete Carroll consider it? And he said, no. He wants to go hang out in Hawaii with his grandkids. He didn't want to start over again. And because Pete Carroll could be offered that job if USC had an opening. Here's the thing. Bill Parcells and Jimmy Johnson were better coaches than Jason Garrett. They were. But Jerry's now getting close to 80, and that's a lot of energy, and that's a lot of tension, and that's a lot of drama, and that's a lot of arguing. Age right now is a real thing. It will make a lot of decisions for you, and I think Jason Garrett's safe, and Jason Garrett's comfortable, and I don't think Jerry maybe has the energy level or the interest in going into a dogfight again, because he and Parcells could be rough, and him and Jim Johnson could be rough, and I think it's a real thing. I really do. You see this all the time in the NFL where I remember Brett Favre at the end of his career in Green Bay. Brett Favre had a quote that I never forget. Brett Favre said, I just don't want to learn a new offense. I just don't want to learn a new offense. So he wanted to go to Minnesota. I think it was like Darrell Bevell was the coordinator so he could run the same offense. And that's generally when you know it's time to get out of a business. Now, Jerry's not going to give up the Cowboys, but when you start making decisions based on, I just don't have the energy to do this, that's probably a good time to, revisit your strategy and like Brett Favre at the end in Green Bay is like, I don't want to learn a new offense. Well, what if it can help you win more games? I don't want to learn a new offense. Then you should think about retirement. And I don't think Jerry's going to sell the team, but I think Jerry Jones deep down, if Jerry Jones was 10 years younger, I think after this year, if they're 7-9, he'd move on. I think if Jerry was 15 years younger, and Jerry's not a guy that hires and fires guys. He has a loyal streak to him. He does. He's loyal to players. He's loyal to coaches. They kept Dave Campo for a long time, and it wasn't working, ever. He could have certainly kept Barry Switzer, won a Super Bowl for him. He had one terrible season. He could have kept Barry longer. He could have fired him. So I look at this as it's one of those things. Age has a big, big influence on decisions. And if Jerry was 10 years younger, I just don't think he wants to go through the argument anymore. It's a real thing. Rob Parker, Joel Klatt, Chris Haynes, great NBA guy, will join us. Boy, that was fun last night. Boy, that thing was fun last night. Buy, sell, or hold next hour. Okay, there are two things. I don't get shocked in sports, but there are two things in sports yesterday that I saw. One can make you money. That I was literally like, wow. And I don't have a lot of those. I'm not a big wow. You know, you do stuff long enough. I mean, if you're a chef and you're working in a kitchen for 30 years, there's not a lot of wow moments. You kind of seen everything. Everything you're going to see in a kitchen, you've seen. And if you've been working in education for 30 years, you've been a school teacher, there's not a lot of surprises. A kid's not going to do or say something you probably haven't seen most of the time, even if they're crazy kids. But yesterday, a couple of wow moments for me. We got those both coming up. Untuckit.com. Don't be the guy in the room with a long, sloppy-looking Untucked shirt. Go to Untuckit.com. See the code HERD, H-E-R-D, for 20% off purchases. 20% off all purchases. Untuckit.com, code HERD.
Tomorrow on FS1, the National League Division Series begins with Game 1.